Welcome back to the portfolio updates. Currently, my two stock portfolios sit at a combined value of 34,875 Australian dollars. That's first made up of my stake portfolio, which is 15,083 USD, which is the equivalent of $23,201 AUD, and my Vanguard account, which is 11,674. Today I'm going to be doing a quick overview through my portfolio, how it's changed since I have not done one in 3 weeks. The first portfolio I'll go through is my stake American portfolio. Going through, you've more than likely seen, if you are an investor, that the market has pulled back. After a strong run-up, you can see recently it's been a little bit of a downturn, but overall, the market still had a strong 3 months. Going through my positions, Apple is one of my biggest individual holdings, and the stock has been incredibly strong for me this year, but recently, as you can see, has had a bit of a drop off. In the last month, the stock is down 5%, and in the last week, it's down 4%. In my opinion, the stock was very highly priced, and I expected this to come, and this isn't a surprise. With the stock nearly being up close to the $200 a share mark, I knew if I was going to do anything, it'd be selling over buying. I decided to do nothing with my position and just hold out and wait and keep doing the ride. Overall, it's still a strong stock that I have my faith in and something I want to hold for the long term. In regards with my other positions, Amazon is a very small position which takes up even nearly 1% of my portfolio and really isn't a major player and something that I might be getting rid of. In comparison, Costco is something that takes up around 7% of my US portfolio and is a stock I love to be invested in. It's had an incredibly strong 3 months, up 12%, and it's taken my overall percentage up to nearly 15% in the green. Costco is a brilliant company to own, but I do think it's a little bit high right now to buy, and if it does dip, is something I'd definitely love to invest into. My next position is Google. This is another smaller position, around half the size of Costco, and it's something that I'm just keeping and I might potentially sell out of eventually, but I am very positive on the stock and hope it can get up again. My next position is JP Morgan, which I'm up nearly 10% on. I have exposure into JP Morgan for both the dividends into the financial sector. When assessing all the banks, it was easy for me to decide that JP Morgan was the best one to be in terms of value and brand. I don't see JP Morgan going anywhere, and with this being a long-term portfolio, I'm fine with having some exposure into the banking sector and hopefully I can pick the cream of the crop with JP Morgan. The stock has had a good 3 months, up nearly 14%, and it's had a strong year, like many stocks. It's something I'm probably not looking to add more into right now, but I'm happy with my position at the moment. My next position is my biggest individual stock holding, and that is Microsoft. Microsoft shares, similar to Apple, have traded down recently, but still have had an amazing run up this year. In the last month, it's down 2.3%, and in the last week, 2.8%. It's still had a strong year, and again with Apple, this is something I expected to come, as all investors probably did, with the strong run up this year that it's had this year. It's probably something I'm not going to buy into right now, but if it does dip down a bit more, and I do add money to my US portfolio, it's definitely something I'd add into, as it's a company I really believe in. Similar with Costco, I think they have the two best business models in the world. Next is actually my biggest holding across all my portfolios, and that's VOO. With it being nearly 7,000 USD, it takes up a massive percent of my investment. I recently bought in, but more on that later, and the stock's had a decent run up this year as well. Overall, I was buying in when it was dropping down and I was trying to lower my average share price. My average share price is just under $390, but it's something I continued to dollar cost average into back in the day, and I'll continue to do so in the future. But first, my main goal at the moment is to grow my Australian Vanguard positions. As you can see, my Australian position is nearly at $11,674. This is something I've been investing into a lot more than my US portfolio. We can start off with my smallest position, and that's VHY, Australian Shares High Yield ETF. VHY, the reason I'm invested into it is to get a bit more exposure into dividends in Australia. There's a thing called franking credits here in Australia, which help with similar dividends and help with paying tax on it. I also wanted to get a bit more diversification across the Australian market, but as you'll see later, this has many similar products as one of my major holdings. It has the likes of BHP, Commonwealth, National Bank, and Woodside Energy, and all the major players. It has 76 stocks, and is a dividend big payer. The only reason I'm not as invested into this one as other ones is its management fee is a little bit higher, and again, it's maybe something I'll grow to around 10% in my Australian portfolio, but when you see my next two, they are my main two players. My next position is my largest Australian position, and that's VLC, Vanguard's Australian Large Company Index. I have 94 shares, and it's up to nearly 7,000 AUD. It's had a strong year, with 11% returns, and it has a bit smaller of a management fee than the high yield one. I used to be invested in VAS, which is Vanguard's a bit more diversified Australian share index, but with VLC, it's a bit more niche and has the main players with the top 20 stocks, with the likes of, as said earlier, BHP, Commonwealth, Westpac, ANZ, Woodside, and the reason I chose to get more into this than into VAS is because this has outperformed VAS and it has more narrow positions in the bigger players who I think will post stronger earnings as they continue to dominate their individual sectors. My goal with this portfolio is to get it to $15,000 before the end of the year, and VLC will continue to be my largest position, hoping to even get that up to the likes of $8,500 or $9,000. Last of all is my Vanguard International Shares ETF. This has had an amazing year, up 17.7%, and it has a lower management fee than the other two. As you can see, its major holdings include worldwide strong companies such as Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon, the likes that I have in my stake portfolio. And in terms of diversification, I cannot invest in US portfolio stocks in my Vanguard account. So, this was the next best way of ensuring I was diversified into some of the biggest players while still having it in my Vanguard account. This has the major big companies, including other ones like Berkshire that I used to own, and this is a position I will continue to grow. My goal is to get this one to $5,000 before the end of the year. In regards with recent purchases, I deposited around $500 AUD into this account and bought VOO. I got a little bit of an adjustment, which is a promo Stake is running at the moment, where you get a 50% back on your foreign exchange. And in regards with transactions on my Vanguard account, I've recently just bought into VLC and VGS, continuing to grow my positions. I've created these on Excel as I believe they're the best way of showing for myself and viewers how I'm diversified and the size of my positions. As you can see with my American portfolio, VOO takes up nearly 50%, and that is the goal, to grow it to take up 50% of my American portfolio. The other large players are Microsoft and Apple, who you can see take up 17% and 18% respectively. There are the smaller players like JP Morgan and Costco, and then Amazon and Google, which I might sell out of. In regards with my Australian portfolio, you can see VLC takes up the majority, and then the other two take up nearly 40%. You can see the growth over the past couple months as I've grown these portfolios, steadily investing. You can see my stake portfolio grew and grew and grew, but I haven't been investing into it as much as I have with my Vanguard, which started at $2,900 end last year and is now up over an $11,500. This was just a quick run through of how my portfolio is looking, what I'm planning to do, and what I'm planning to invest in. I do have a trip coming up, so I am sparing money for that, but once I get back, I'll be right back on the grind investing my money into each specific stocks and selling out of some that I don't really believe in as much. My goal for the upcoming year, especially after finishing the last financial year, is to be a bit more steady in my positions and not be selling out as much as what I can and be holding things a bit more long term. Overall, the goal is still to get the stake portfolio to around $16,000 before the end of the year and get the Vanguard portfolio to $15,000. That was all. Leave your thoughts on how the portfolios are seeded and how your portfolio is tracking. Cheers.